lot of people these days might see Burton written on the front of a shop somewhere. It has no connection with the fantastic company that used to be Montague Burton. That guy was absolutely amazing. And there's a book, if you can get hold of it, I mean, it's a very sought after book. It's called Ideals for Industry. I think they had about 650 shops, and almost all the shops had billiard halls above them as a design point to get young guys coming to the point where the shops were. They made super quality stuff. Their Leeds, their factory in Leeds had, I think, 12,000 people working. Now, I estimate one person could make easily a jacket and a half a day, so they'd be turning out 10,000 suits every day. And they were super quality. They had their own mills, and they had a staff canteen. And their staff canteen could seat 8,000 people. So, I mean, that's an industry on itself. I mean, imagine how many have we got in today? Oh, well, the first sitting is 7,000. And then when you've cleared away the cups of tea and the ashtrays, there's another 5,000 coming in. It was a fantastic industry. Now, Burton were big players, but there were dozens of other big players as well. There was John Collier, Jackson's, Hepworth's super tailors, some of the smaller, high-quality high street tailors like Hector Pow and Horns. They made absolutely super stuff. Now, about 20 years ago, when I was lucky enough to inherit some of the workforce of Lambourne and Jaeger in Ipswich when both those companies closed down, I was looking around for staff. I thought, well, I know, I'll try Leeds, where it all happened. And so I phoned the Labour Exchange or whatever it is, the employment place in Leeds, and I think I wrote them something in the mail. I got a nice letter back from them saying, yeah, we understand why you would think that you might find skills in Leeds, but sorry to tell you, there's not a single person on our books now in Leeds that's looking for work in a clothing factory. And that's absolutely heartbreaking. Before I started my own factory, I dealt with several companies in Leeds who closed down after one after another. But the thing that surprised me, I'd go to a factory in Leeds, and you know, if you have a factory, let's say you've got 50 to 200 people working, whatever. Some of the factories were smaller in those days. Factories got wound down. Never was I greeted by some sort of dandy, you know, sort of really elegantly, smartly dressed man. I'm in this business because I like clothes. I like to dress well. It's good fun. I'd be greeted by sort of managers of these places in, I don't know, some bland Marks and Spencer suits. Now, if you have a factory, you're making stuff for lots of retailers, you get hold of lots of really super stuff, and it's free, surplus at the end of a big job. There's lots of material left over. You can make absolutely anything you want, the most stylish, super quality suits. You can just make them. And it really surprised me that the people that were running these factories didn't have that desire to be really well dressed. So maybe that's part of it, how the factories were being run by people who just weren't that interested in super quality clothes. Anyway, this is a Burton tailored jacket. I doubt you would get this quality anywhere now. It's in quite a heavy worsted. It's a really beautiful classic line. I've got a picture on my, used to be on my sign, of Jean Patul, the French couture guy. The picture's taken, I think, in the 1920s. And the jacket that he's wearing is exactly the same line as this. So you could wear this 100 years ago. You could wear it in the 70s. It doesn't have the mad 70s lapels, which we're going to see in a minute. But it's a beautiful, classic, elegant line. I don't think you could get this quality even in Savile Row now. Burton Tailoring made dinner jackets and morning coats and evening tails, and the ones that had the old silver label in them with, I think it just said London and Princess Street, Edinburgh on the label, they were super quality. If you bought one from Savile Row, you might pay 4 or 5 times as much, but you'd have to look with a magnifying glass to see the difference in quality. This is an absolutely super, really beautiful, elegant jacket. And it's made by Burton, I think probably about 1960. Very classic cut. This is the size, it's like a size 30. It's a bit tight for me. Otherwise, I'd love to wear this myself. It's also a little bit long. It's a 37 longish, well, that's enough of that. I'm going to show you how to repair moth holes now. Moths, I absolutely love them. They've cost me, I don't know, a lot of money. But anyway, I used to throw things away when they were moth damaged because, well, you know, what can you do with a moth hole? Now, when I'm looking at things that are made from vintage materials they're never going to see again, I think, well, you've got to try and hang on to some of this stuff. No matter how badly it's damaged, keep it, because you can use the material for something else. A lot of the time you can repair it. You don't despair if you've got a moth hole. There's lots of different ways of doing it. You can darn it, but darns tend to be a little bit lumpy. This is a little trick I quite often do with things like dinner jacket trousers. Now, this is a perfectly wearable, it's quite a good size. These are 32 waist, 32 leg, good size for a modern chap. But I sold these, then we found out, because I hadn't noticed that it's got a hole there. Now, you can see the hole quite plainly there. You see it a lot more clearly. Now, the trouble is, when you look at a hole like that, it's quite visible because it looks blacker than the thing. So it really stands out. And just to make it stand out a little bit more, let's just stuff that in there. Now, you can see that's quite a big hole there. And it'll put a lot of people off wearing them like that. So what we're going to do is a little trick. This is fusing tape. It's frowned upon by tailors, but used extensively by them, and I use it a lot too. Now, what we're going to do is steal a little bit of the same cloth from somewhere else. Now, the turn up on this trouser is very shallow, so I'm not going to steal any from here, but there's always somewhere else when you can pinch a little bit of material. Next place to look is, of course, this pretty generous V in the back. Now, I'm going to cut a tiny little bit out of here. Doesn't need much. It's all that's needed, just about a little bit bigger than the hole. I'll cut that little bit of overlocking off now. That's a tiny little piece. Now, next thing to do, see that's big enough to cover that hole, of course, and it's the same material. Then we take our fusing tape and put that over it like that. Now you can make the tape just a little bit bigger than the actual little patch you're using, if you like. It won't do any harm. Fusing tape tends to just sort of shrivel and disappear if you've got a little bit of a border on it. So that little bit of extra that you see just there, that's fine. Now we're going to reverse these trousers. Take that out, put it back in when we've turned this inside out. Make sure we've got the right leg. Now where's our hole? Here we go, it's there. Now we want to make sure we can see it again. So where's our bit of I find the best stuff is kitchen towel. It seems to do this job quite well, because the little bit of adhesive that would normally go straight down to the other side of the trousers tends to just disappear and stick to the kitchen towel quite well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a tiny little hole in this. You don't always have to do that. If that was a smaller hole, I wouldn't even bother to do this. I'm going to cut just a tiny little hole in there like that. So see that hole is smaller than the actual moth hole. Now put that over like that. Now here's our patch. Now be careful that you've got these. Actually, there is a right way up for this cloth, but I'm not going to bother too much with this. It's parathea. Now put that over like that. Now I've got a really nice fancy iron here, but you know, an ordinary domestic steam iron is just as good. Let's watch this. Put it on, don't move it about. Get a bit of steam there. Want that getting really hot now. Press it on that. Once it's bonded, you can then press it on. And you see the little traces that were like overlapping there, they've disappeared now. Get the steam out of the way, steaming my glasses up. Now, let's see if we've been successful. Now remember, it was quite unsightly. That was a quite visible hole. You'd see your skin or your socks or something through that. Now, let's see if it's noticeable now. Like I say, a lot of repairs, they don't have to be invisible repairs, as long as they're unnoticeable repairs. Now, that's where it is. Now, I'm just going to give it a quick press, again, using this paper, which will... It's all in the pressing. Now, let's see what we've got. It's almost invisible. It's certainly perfectly wearable now. Sheepskin coats. Now, we've all seen Del Boy and everything else. He wears one. There's a problem with them. If you had an MGA or an XK150 or something like that, I actually had a TR3, you just had to have one of these. There's nothing warmer than a sheepskin coat, and they're pretty stylish. Everybody that had an open-top sports car had a flat cap and a sheepskin coat. The problem was, they got quite popular, and a lot of people started making them quite cheaply, and it was as though everybody made the wrong pattern, and maybe somebody started making them and everybody copied their pattern, not knowing it's the wrong pattern. A lot of sheepskin coats that I come across, try them on, you think, wow, this is quite nice fit, it's super warm, it's nothing, and it's natural. And then you put your hands in your pockets and you find the pockets, it's not too bad on this one, the pockets are sort of down here, particularly the ones that have got a break just here. And so if you put your hands in your pockets to keep warm, you find yourself sort of doing this and sort of slouching. That is the problem with most of the sheepskin jackets that I come across on the second-hand market. This one's quite nice, it's not too bad, it's got a button missing, I'm going to replace that. But I've got two which are mine for keeps. One which is absolutely super warm, and now I had two fantastic full-length sheepskin coats which I lent to a well-known Italian fashion company for a photo shoot, who will be nameless, and I never got them back. A little bit annoyed about that, because I never had a full-length one again since. So now my favourite one is an unusual one. When I buy sheepskin coats, I normally want the ones that are branded Moorland. They were the best, and this one is an unusual pattern. It's got 4 pockets, and I've only ever seen one like this. It's not a very heavyweight one. Buttons up quite nicely, and yeah, this is really pretty smart. Love this one. Might have preferred a slant pocket, but this is absolutely super. They were normally made a little bit long and you turn the cuffs back, but this one is about the right sleeve length for me. It's an absolutely super one. It's probably 50 years old. This would have been made maybe late 60s, something like that. Now, the company, Moorland, they were the market leaders. They're down in near Glastonbury somewhere. Now, the son of the family obviously was working in the business, and he'd go to Peru and Paraguay and places, chasing down sort of pelts of things like llamas and alpacas and what have you, and importing sheepskins from those countries. And quite quickly he decided that he didn't want to be a sheepskin coat executive. He wanted to be a drug dealer. But he was a useless drug dealer. He kept getting caught. And so instead of having this really lovely company, Moorland, and being a famous sheepskin coat maker with your name on everybody's coat, He did, I think, altogether about 12 years in prison for his useless drug dealing. He did prison in just about every country there is. And there's a book that you can buy that tells the whole story. That sadly, he finished up, obviously his marriage and everything dissolved, got away and finished up in some council flat in Chiswick or somewhere. But yeah, a little bit sad really, because I'd like to see the brand still alive now. Instead, everybody's just buying puffer jackets made out of plastic, when these things, there's absolutely nothing more warm, comfortable and stylish. Yeah, I've got about 3 of them, but this one I'll never depart from. Love this one. Yeah. I was incredibly fortunate in the geography of my factory, which is in Ipswich, being close to Sudbury. You had 2 fabulous firms there. I think one has already gone now. There's Vanners and Stephen Walters, who produced the most superb English woven silk. I was never quite happy with ties that I bought from different manufacturers. I used to like Solka ties, but I never found the perfect one that was as good as one that I'd had in the 60s. So I started making ties and cravats and bow ties myself. Now, if you make a bow tie, quite commonly, see this one here is made by for Liberty, and it's got this little sort of adjustment thing on, so you sort of piece it together and then you poke that little stick in a little hole there for your collar size. That's okay, but the purists like a proper collar-sized bow tie, a bespoke collar-sized bow tie. So when you have a bespoke bow tie, it's more like this. There's no little gadgets on it, it's just a pure bow tie. Now it can be a butterfly bow tie or a straight one like this. There's lots of different styles, but these tie beautifully. You don't have to mess about with them. And there's just something nice about not having all those little bits of gadgets and buckles and things on the end. I should be able to do this without a mirror. Yeah, tighten it up. Remember, tighten it up from the back. Not sure how that looks, but remember, it's just a bow, just like your shoes. I made cravats. You see, I was able to buy lots and lots of English woven silk as surplus stuff from Vanners and Stephen Walters. I'd be there every odd week. I buy silk like this. I was always hunting down paisleys. There's always a lot of surplus silk in stripes like this. But of course, for cravats and scarves, I used to buy from the best Scottish cashmere house, Beggs in Scotland. I used to buy blank cashmere scarves because they already had the tassels on the end, and I would face those with English woven silk, with like golf motifs and things like that. But I was always hunting down paisley. The best paisley, I mean, what was the best thing that we took from the days of the Raj in India? What was the best thing to come out of India? It wasn't curry. It was paisley. We nicked this from Indian designs. And this particular one, I think, is a near perfect paisley. My father was quite a big chap, and I couldn't really steal his clothes apart from shoes and ties. And I had one of his paisley ties, which is similar to this from 1940s. But everybody should have at least 5 paisley ties in each colour in their wardrobe. And this particular one, I think, is the perfect paisley. I have another paisley tie that's made by the Irish poplin company, Atkinson's, who made James Bond's ties too. I think I might have mentioned that before in a little chat. But yeah, the scale of this one and that nice sort of smoky blue in the background, that's a perfect tie. That one, love that. Yeah. Somebody's doing a play and they want a 1920s policeman. They said, have I got any kit? And I said, I think I have. I think this is a police cape. I'm not sure. Or it might be just a cape. But it's got little lion's heads, which are common on lots of capes. But this is, this is probably late Victorian. It's definitely more than 100 years old. But it's for a big chap. Now, I was at school in the early 60s with a chap who was like 6'1.5". And in those days that was really unusual. Nobody was that height. I was in Yorkshire and we'd be out in the street at the bus stop and adults would be looking at him like that and saying, it's in Yorkshire, are they going to be a bobby? Because anybody tall was going to be a policeman, obviously. To be a policeman in the 1960s you had to be tall, and tall was 5'10" or above. So 5'10" was considered tall in the early 1960s. But anyway, this cape is for somebody over 100 years ago, and I think it's going to touch the floor if I put it on. Yeah. I actually am crouching a little bit, but this is, this is down to my feet. So I'm sure a cape would be meant to go mid-calf. I mean, obviously below the knee. So I'm 5'9". This chap must have been around 6'6" in the early 1900s. People would have followed him around. I think to be classed as a giant, I think there was a figure, and I think it's 6'8". You're a giant. So yeah, that chap would be a giant. Yeah. I'm surprised that it hasn't been shortened at some time.